Hey, I'm Matt Henley.
And I'm Rain Woods.
And welcome to the Showtime podcast for the Pride of the Mountains Marching Band. Whether you are a current member of the Pride of the Mountains, one of our incredible alumni of the Long Purple Line, or a supporter of the band, we are so happy you tuned in today. I'm Matt Henley, the director of the Pride of the Mountains Marching Band here at Western Carolina University, and with me is our chief student archivist, Rain Woods.
How you doing today, Matt?
I'm fabulous.
Awesome. Dude, I'm so happy we're finally in the full swing of the show season. September and October are my favorite months of the year because of just how, intense everything that we're doing is. The football games that we've had so far have been so much fun, and it's been so awesome to see the show slowly getting put together. It's been a ton of hard work, but the fun times are here. And talking about fun times, today's episode of the Showtime podcast.
Nice segue, I like that.
Yeah, thank you. For today's episode, we're discussing one of the most honored positions of the Pride of the Mountains upper leadership. You know them, you love them. You look up at their hands to find the tempo. We're talking about drum majors.
We are talking about drum majors, and usually we try to keep these down to about 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 on a big podcast, but we are expanded it to we have actually 7 current and former drum majors with us today, and spanning several eras of the band, several directors, and I cannot thank them enough for being here with us today. So thank you so much for being here. In the sense of time, we're going to try to just jump right into this and let each one of them tell a little bit about their story. But I did want to point out that if you haven't seen the show yet, or if you don't know much about it for this year, it is entitled Connect, and the entire thing is about leaning into our alumni, making those connections about who we were, who we are, and who we want to be in the future. So these kinds of podcasts and these kinds of conversations and discussions are extremely important to me and to a lot of people out there, because a lot of people are, even though they might have graduated, they certainly are still invested in what we do every single day, and we know that, and we appreciate that, and we definitely stand on the shoulders of giants. So speaking of incredible folks, I'm going to start with I reached out to this guy. I wanted to know if he would actually be able to make it happen or not. He's a busy man and doing incredible things in music education, but please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Cecil Adderley.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Cecil, tell us a little bit about maybe where you are now. When were you in band here at Western Carolina University? What years were you drum majors? Just tell us a little bit about what's going on with your life right now.
Yeah, I was there from 81 till 85. I was drum major my senior year, so that would have been the fall of 84 for marching band season, then student teaching in the spring of 85 and graduating. Currently, I am the chair of music education, the music education department at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I'm president of NAFME, the National Association for Music Education.
Well, I got to tell you that's awfully impressive. Obviously, we love seeing people going out there into the music education field and continuing what we do. But what about your story after college? Tell us a little bit about how you arrived at such an esteemed position like that.
Well, after Western, I moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina, taught in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. I was at North Mecklenburg High School my entire time there as the assistant director under Barry Garrison. And my first year teaching at Ranson Junior High, which was one of the junior highs that fed in the North, I was always late for my afternoon classes at North. So the second year, I transferred to the other junior high, J.M. Alexander. So I finished it with J.M. Alexander Junior High in North Mech for that career in Charlotte. During that time, worked on my master's part-time, got it done in 2 years at University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and then took a leave of absence to go to USC, back to my hometown in Columbia, to work on my PhD. Was the grad assistant for Charlie Elliott, and did the Yamaha MIE program in a couple of the public schools as part of my graduate assistantship. It was a wonderful experience for those first 2 years. And then during my third and fourth year, an opening came open at Benedict College. It's a small HBCU there in Columbia. I ended up taking that job and was there for 4 years.
That's awesome.
Ended up resigning from Charlotte-Mecklenburg to stay at Benedict. And then from there to Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and the past 21 years here at
Wow,
Berklee.
21. I didn't even know that. That's
It passes by
That's
quickly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, going back to your time at Western Carolina, who was your band director, and what would you say is your favorite performance memory?
So my first 3 years, it was Joe Scagnoli. And then my senior year, it was Joel Schultz. And Joel, many people know Joel from the Spirit of Atlanta days. He was one of the original soloists. And Joel had been out at East Carolina for a while doing marching band, then came to Western my senior year. The band probably doubled in size that year
Nice.
when Joel came. So a lot of the students who were from Silva who hadn't participated in a while joined. So it was a really cool experience. I was lucky to be drum major that year because that show was one of the old Blue Devils shows from '75. It was the Space Shuttle year. So if you go back that far in looking at DCI, that's when Madison won in '75. So that was the opener. It was, and Joel really connected with the students. So it was really fun to watch the development of what went on that year and just the excitement that was created for the
That's
band.
very, very cool. And I guess last question, right, for now. What leadership qualities in regard to being a drum major here, how do you see those, how they affected your life and helped you in your growth of your career?
Wow. I think when you take on any of those positions and people put that level of responsibility on you, one, you're supporting the band director foremost. You have to remember that they are the boss and you are following their instructions to help motivate students to do their best. And it's the collaborative spirit that you're trying to nurture, letting people know that this is a goal that we're all working toward. This is not someone talking down to people, but the collaboration of building everyone up and making sure that we're all working toward the same goal, which is the entertainment of the fans who are supporting us every week that we put on that show in the stadium.
Well, that's outstanding. The next person, I guess, in line to speak with us today is certainly an old friend of mine. I was lucky enough to know this guy when he came out of high school. He was the drum major when I was kind of first starting my career here at Western Carolina University, and that's Mr. Bobby Lambert. Bobby, thanks for being with us, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. It's my pleasure and my honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, talk a little bit about, I guess, your years here at Western Carolina University, when you were drum major, and kind of what you've been doing after you left.
My drum major story is a little bit awkward. I actually have never marched at Western Carolina University. I came in as the drum major my sophomore year. And the whole reason for that is I actually went to UNC Chapel Hill as a pre-law major at first. And Bob Buckner had talked to me at my high school competition when I was a senior and said, "Hey, we'd like to have you at Western." And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to do this." I went to UNC Chapel Hill, had a great time, but really I lost my connection with music, which was not acceptable for me. So I decided to transfer back. And so I came back the spring semester of '95, so the beginning of the year. And he said, if you didn't do marching band last year, you have to come to a pre-camp. I was like, well, I don't want to go to a pre-camp. I mean, I know how to march. And I actually was working for Andrews High School. I was doing their band camp during the time. So I went into Bob and I said, "Hey, is there anything I can do?" And he said, "Well, have you ever been a drum major before?" I said, "No, sir, I haven't." He goes, "Well, come to the drum major audition. We'll do the marching stuff there and we'll call it even." I said, "Great, that's fine." So I went in and auditioned. There were like 7 or 8 other people auditioning, and we did it in groups of 3. And I was one of the first groups to go. And he said at the end, "We're going to announce who the drum major is and have a leadership team meeting." Matt, you probably remember this. I went through my first group and I left because I was just there to do the marching part. And so I conducted and I went over to the cafeteria. I was over there eating in the round cafeteria that's there. And I was eating cereal. And I remember Joanna Abel came running across the street, came up and just yelled my name. And I was like, "Joanna, are you okay? What's going on?" She was like, "You have to get back to the band room now. You're the drum major next year."
That's
I actually didn't know that part of the story.
I
Dodson
walked into the
cafeteria, I love it.
Yeah, Dodson. I walked into the leadership team meeting and everybody was sitting there like, "Who is this guy?" They didn't know my name.
Wow.
I didn't know any of them.
Wow.
And so it was a lot of learning in that first year. And that'll be what I'll talk about my leadership thing that I learned. From there, I went to the University of Massachusetts to do my degree in saxophone performance. with recently deceased Lynn Clark, one of the best teachers of all time. And then from there, I went to Marian Catholic High School in Chicago Heights, Illinois, and was with Greg Bim for 13 years. And I developed a leadership curriculum and did a lot of leadership speaking kind of in that time. And now I've been the head director at Wando for the last 11 years and still have my own business called Lambert Leadership, where I go out and work with kids and staffs and folks all over the place. I just got back from North Dakota last Friday and had a great week with them out there. So that's where I've been and where I'm from. I should admit, too, that I'm originally from Toe String, North Carolina, there on the Cherokee Indian Reservation. That's always fun to tell people about. So, yeah, that's me.
I love it. Yeah. You certainly a success story. And you've had some amazing mentors through your life. I mean, Greg Bim at Marian Catholic, one of the best in the business, a band director for sure. That's really cool to hear about. And it's been fun to watch your career flourish. We're all just so proud of you here in the Valley. What would you say your favorite performance memory would be while here at Western?
Easy. The Inca Land of the Sky performance that we did each year. I remember the first time that we did it. We'd done some football games and we still didn't really know what we were doing. I can remember Bob had to remind me how to call them to attention several times for the Star Spangled Banner because I would forget. But that was the first day that I actually felt like the drum major, and it was the first day that I felt like I belonged.
Cool.
That was just a galvanizing event. And when I saw the high school kids getting so excited for the hard work we had done, I was like, man, I want to give this away. Everybody should get to feel this at some point.
I agree with you. I feel like that particular show every year is the first time that our students get to feel like rock stars, especially our freshmen. It's a great way to put a galvanizing moment. It kind of solidifies and everything we've been doing up until that point. So
we love Inca.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Shout out to Kevin Young.
And I would say I would say the leadership lesson that you were asking about, what's a leadership lesson? Yeah. Mine. I've learned a lot of leadership lessons over the years. I've had some, like you said, some great people like you and Bob and John West there, and several others, Will Peebles even, who was actually in my wedding, by the way. All kinds of crazy stuff, Western connections. But mine was about resilience, I think, and vision. I think you have to have both. When we were there, none of us had any idea what you and Bob were wanting to do. Like we knew high school band in Western North Carolina, and you guys were talking about doing Falcons games and going to Grand Nationals and all that stuff. And we had no idea. But you held us to a really high standard. And because you had that vision, it got us there. So I think the thing I took away from there is there are no limits. I mean, it's just going to take time and effort, but there are no limits.
Yeah, we've always kind of had that idea of like, why not us? Why not us? We got the determination, we got the skill. We'll make it happen. So I agree with you on that. Having grit, can take you a long way in life. That's for sure. The next person we have in line today is Miss Carrie Carpenter. So Carrie, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Matt.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about when were you at Western? When were you a drum major? And who was your band director?
So I was at Western from 2001 through 2003 in the marching band. I graduated in 2004. And I was drum major in 2002 and 2003. And Bob Buckner was the band director, and Matt Hanley was the assistant band director.
I know those guys. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you've got a really interesting career path. I mean that so sincerely. I think it's wonderful what you've done and where you started, where you thought you wanted to be, and how you were called to other things. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since you graduated.
Well, I started out teaching. I did 6 months of middle school band in Leland, North Carolina as an interim. And then I went to Cherryville High School, Cherryville. So I was there for 6 years. And during that time, I also had a part-time job as a choir director at a local United Methodist church. And in that season, I basically discerned some full-time ministry work in the UMC. And so since then, I've been working for the most part, full-time in United Methodist churches. I went to seminary at Duke Divinity School during that time. And now I'm an ordained pastor in the United Methodist Church. And currently, I'm in an appointment that's not in a local church. So I'm appointed to Crossville Communities for Children at our Avery County campus. And our organization provides lots of care for lots of children in need. And in particular, I serve a population of kids here in Avery County that are in a residential foster care community. My position is manager, sorry, it changed, manager of spiritual life and recreation. Basically, I'm kind of a chaplain that also does really fun things like bikes and crafts and gets kids in music lessons. It's a real broad job, but it's a whole lot of fun.
That's awesome. So what would you say some of the leadership qualities when you were a drum major here, how has that permeated into what you do now?
Oh gosh, it's everywhere. I'd say probably that impact of that drum major role. For me, we were a team of 3 at both years. And I think that's just really unique when you have a group of 3 people who are charged to lead in a particular type of way. And we led an organization of several hundred kids. My senior year in 2003, that was the first year the band broke 300. So just kind of thinking about that collaborative model that you and Bob set forth from the beginning of our time there, it really made a big impact in how I continue to navigate connectional work in particular. Like in the UMC, everything is very collaborative. There's a lot of team-based leadership. I mean, if anyone's familiar with our denomination, all we ever do is make task forces. And so I'm really good. That's not really all we ever do, but there's a lot of committee and community work. And then in my organization here at Crossnor, it's very similar. And if I had not had those experiences as a young adult, I think it would have been very hard to translate some of that later on into adulthood. And I see that with people that may not have had those kinds of experiences in collaborative leadership. Sometimes that can be really overwhelming early on in their careers.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to the fun stuff. What's your favorite performance memory as a drum major?
Oh, well, that would have been in 2003 when we went to Grand Nationals. That was the second time Western had gone to BOA. And it was also kind of a transitional year for Western. That was the first year we used electronics, or not electronics, but pre-recorded electronics in the show. It just kind of had stepped into a different level. And we had this a really strong class of new students. It was just one of those years where I felt like the collaborative spirit and connectional spirit of the band went a really long way. And so the performance was one of the culminations of that moment. And my favorite preparatory moment leading into that performance was that Bob Buckner told the drum majors we had to paint the Colts helmet on the practice field. And so we recruited a large group of students and we worked for hours on a Sunday afternoon trying to get that Colts helmet. And Bob gave us an envelope with dimensions written on it. But we figured it out and it looked fairly decent. And I even still have one grainy old photograph from that wonderful, wonderful experience. But it was that was just a perfect example of how we worked together so that performance was at a level that none of us had ever really experienced before.
I think it was definitely a pivotal year for sure. I think a lot of the rebranding and what was going on with the band was happening and was going strong, and it was an incredible show, an incredible group of people, that's for sure. Well, now I'm going to go down here to my right, and somebody that actually insisted on driving up from Charlotte early this morning. You are a little crazy, Victoria, but So with us in the studio is Victoria Johnson Adriatico, one of the drum majors, one of the people, many people in the band that married somebody from the band. Yeah. Yep, and now has a small child and doing fantastic work. But thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
All right, tell everybody your years in band. When were you drum major? Who was your band director? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I was in the band from 2011, so Club Swagger, to 2015. That's what's up. And I was a drum major from 2012, How We Roll, to 2015. So 4 years. And I was in the David Starnes regime when he first started. His first year was Club Swagger, so I had never gotten the opportunity or privilege to meet Bob and work under him. But I got the privilege to work with David and Matt and John throughout all of my years, in the band. And actually, a fun fact is my first year as drum major was the first year we did 4 that I knew, because it was always 3 for such a long, long time. And then I remember being at the band banquet, they announced Joel, and I was like, oh, I didn't get it. And then David got up there and went, and our 4th drum major, and I was like, oh my God, maybe there's a chance. And there it was. The rest was history. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
So what would you say your favorite performance memory would be? It was a lot of years of doing it.
I know, yeah. I'd probably say, and I know probably unpopular opinion for one of my favorite shows, because everyone would probably guess like, oh, it had to be Macy's, like Street Beats, or it had to be 2012 How We Roll, because that was pretty incredible and a turning point, I feel like, for the program that year. We put lights on the drums. It was awesome. But
They wonder why I turned gray so quickly.
They look so good, though.
But I love 2013. I love Generation Next. I feel like that year was, I don't know, it was like more edgy. There was more grit. We had Michael Gaines writing drill. I remember turning into Dossie and looking at the drill book and being like, good luck teaching that, man. Like, have fun with that one. But that end of that show, there was this big Maya Stoso grand section where the band makes this giant X and they like march to it in halftime. And I just remember at TOC that year, which I love, TOC at night, there's nothing like it, the energy you feel. But it just really felt like everyone in the band was truly invested in that moment. Like they really were not worrying about anything else. They weren't worried about school, about personal life. It just like, there was just an energy or like a hum I felt from the field, to the point that I started like jumping up and down on the podium, like hitting like cues and stuff. I'm really surprised that sucker didn't break, like, because I was up there jumping up and down, because I know we all get really into it. But yeah, I was feeling it that year. That was great.
Yeah, well, I will say, brag on Victoria just a little bit. I really feel like that as far as the evolution of the job, let's get real, the drum major job it should evolve. Like any leadership position in the band, it has evolved. And there are some key times along the way. And I really feel like from an organizational standpoint and from a structure and a training standpoint in the off season especially, I think, Victoria, you had a lot to do with kind of where we are now when it came to just really evolving the job. So thanks for all that. What have you been doing since you graduated? What are you doing now?
Yeah, not band, unfortunately, but no, I'm an assistant vice president at LPL Financial, and I'm a technology project manager. So yeah, swapping out all those 9-volt batteries has done me some justice. But yeah, I'm basically, our company brings in different advisor firms, and I'm responsible for outfitting all of their technology, getting them up and running on our equipment, our tools, our software. But that organization still is playing a huge part in my role today, is just kind of coordinating different teams, keeping things in order, timelines, all that good stuff. So definitely that organization has not gone anywhere.
Well, you've always been so unbelievably talented and smart, and I'm not surprised at all. And Nick, she's married to Nick Adriatico, actually one of our trumpet folks.
Yep.
What's he up to? Working with you?
Yeah, he also works at LPL. He's supporting a different type of merger and acquisition we do at our company, but also, yeah, big tech heavy. He knows more about tech than I do. So I'm honestly shocked sometimes that I do what I do, because I'm like, you know more than I do. Like he's the one setting up. Yeah, right. Don't tell him. Shh. But yeah, no, we're doing good. And yeah, we have a little 3-year-old who's keeping us busy. So that's my other job, is being a mom.
That's the full-time job. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for driving up here. Seriously, a big commitment to do that. Thank you so much.
It's fun.
And next in line, we have Holly joining us from down east a little ways. Holly, thank you so much for being with us. Why don't you just start by telling everybody about your time here, what years you were here, who was your band director, and a little bit about what's going on with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I was in band from 2014 to 2018, so 5 seasons, and I was drum major from 16, 17, and 18. At the time, it was David Starnes, John Henson, and of course, Matt Henley.
Yes. Who's
The guy
that?
that won't leave.
Who is that?
Yeah, that's who I worked with the most, I guess.
True.
Great advice from Matt is don't suck.
Well, you know that you do a little less of that every day, you get better. So
Yes.
Really took that to heart.
So tell me, not me. Tell everybody a little bit about maybe what's your favorite performance experience that you remember that sticks out.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about that a lot. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I probably would say the very first time, my first year as drum major, when I led a pregame. I remember before, leading up to it, I was like almost sick, so scared. I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want everyone to kind of get off on the wrong foot. But then I actually did it, and everything went fine. And that was kind of the moment where I said, "Oh, okay, I'm here for a reason. I can do this. Everything went great." And then everything after that went pretty smooth. I mean, I still made mistakes, but nothing disastrous happened. So that was kind of the first time where it really felt real.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can be, it can be intimidating standing in front of this band. It really can, especially your first few times doing it. But it's definitely a steep learning curve for folks, especially that have been drum majors, much smaller high school programs and that kind of thing. It's just such a vast sea of people out there. So,
my high school was tiny. I think we had a total of 60 people maybe my senior year, and I think my freshman year in band we had like less than 20 almost.
Yeah. It's very common these days for students that come in for their high school bands to be smaller than the section that they're in here. And that's crazy to wrap your mind around, but it's just a different experience. But tell everybody a little bit about what I think it's really interesting, your background here, like what degree you actually got here and what you've done with it since you left.
Yeah, so I have my degree in interior design. I actually started out with chemistry because I thought I was going to be a pharmacist, but quickly realized that was not the life for me. I switched to interior design in the middle of my sophomore year, which gave me my victory lap fifth year. But yeah, I work at Marsh Kitchen and Bath now as a builder account specialist. So I work with a home builder, and I primarily just work with cabinetry, like in the kitchen and bathroom. So they send over plans. I double check their layouts, make sure it's going to work, tell them when it's not going to work, fix it, order it, schedule the install, schedule any service after. But yeah, it's a whole different ball game from band.
It is, and yet everything you just described, we kind of do every day here in band. It's all about team stuff. So talk a little bit about your leadership skills that you think you acquired here and how you're putting them into use now.
Yeah, I mean, almost every part of it has come into play in my current job. I actually told my bosses in one of my interviews at one point that marching band is one of the biggest things I'm using day to day. I mean, it's accountability, responsibility, communication, organization, planning ahead, all the things we had to do every day, especially as drum major. And now I do it in my day job. Make everything run smoothly. I compared it to an ensemble almost at one point too, because like we're the cabinetry, but we have to coordinate with the appliances. We have to coordinate with the flooring, the walls, every other part of the house to make one piece at the end that's cohesive and correct. So
yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. We actually have been talking a lot lately with the band about accountability because what an interesting thing that we do. It's the ultimate teamwork to do living art where every single person has to be accountable for their position on the field, their dot, if you will, their music, their leadership role if they're in one, to create this giant, beautiful thing that we all made together. Because guess what? The show would not be as exciting if you just had one trumpet player out there doing it by himself. So right. it really is about the cumulative whole, but the individual accountability is everything. So it, including me, everybody's got to be accountable for their job. So that's all exciting stuff. And you also married somebody that was in the band and have a couple of kids now. Yeah.
Technically, yes. Yeah. Austin was in band in 2017. Yep. Was that?
That sounds correct.
That's what's up. It was
Take Note.
Take Note. Yep. He pushed the prop around the field.
I love that show.
He just did that to be closer to you. We all know what's going on there. Come on.
Well, he did get to go on the trip for free because he pushed the prop around the field. So
that's right.
He got to hang out with me, and he got to go on the trip. So it was a pretty good deal.
Absolutely. Well, next in line, we have somebody joining us from very far away currently. Our most recent former drum major, Mackenzie Yazan, across the pond in Ireland right now. So I'm not gonna steal your thunder here. So Mackenzie Yazan, thank you for being here. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing when you were in band and when you were drum major?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Matt, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. So right now I am getting my master's degree in ethnomusicology at University College Cork in Cork, Ireland. So it's really, really cool to be here and be a part of this program. I was in band from 2021 to 2024. So first round of band directors were Jack Eady, Trevor Bailey, Matt Henley. And then in 2024, final year, I got Matt Henley as the head director. Interim, but
scraping the bottom of the barrel.
And then my former high school band directors, Tim Wise and Dylan Engel.
Yeah, it's crazy story you have for sure.
Yeah.
So this, what drew you to go to Ireland? Did it have anything to do with our trip to Ireland recently? I was just curious.
It did. It actually did, yeah. So in 2024, the band got to go to Ireland for a week to march in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Dublin. And it was an incredible experience. And I've always thought about studying abroad and going to get a different view of life and have that other experience away from America and what I've known. So I started looking into grad programs in other parts of the world and happened to stumble across University College Cork, and everything just fell in place. So I decided like this is where I needed to be and hopped on a plane, and now I'm here.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, what do you gravitate toward in your mind about being maybe your favorite performance moment while here as a drum major?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely last year, the first time we got to perform all of Higher Ground after Helene. And after getting to experience firsthand the devastation that Helene caused, it was just really powerful and such a wonderful moment to be able to come back stronger than ever and show how resilient not only Potham is, but the whole WNC community as a whole.
Yeah. I no kidding. I actually cried in that performance because it was kind of a musical miracle to come back after 3 weeks of not seeing anybody and just somehow willing it to happen, and then for us to change the end of the show to spell out WNC as a tribute to our community and to our students and what we learned about community throughout all of that. It was a very, very meaningful, powerful human moment. So I agree with you on that. So here you are, doing higher ed further. How do you feel like your leadership qualities while growing here, how do you think it's going to impact what you're doing now and into the future?
Absolutely. The first thing that comes to mind is just people skills, just the ability to connect with people and be able to talk with people from all kinds of different backgrounds, especially where I'm at University College Cork. We have almost 5,000 international students. So my 4 roommates were all from different parts of the world. And most of my cohort is from other parts of the world as well. So just being able to listen first to people, which is a huge skill that I learned as a drum major, and kind of figure out how to get to connect with them on a personal level, and even remembering their name. Just step one, just remembering their name, and then forming a connection with them through either shared experiences or getting to know something that they like, and just being able to bring that up again and show them that, like, hey, I really do care about you and I care about your experience. And so that's been a huge part of just my growth going into higher education and being able to network and form those connections.
Yeah, that's awesome. I, early in my career, I'll be the first to admit that, I think I taught more of the product than the person, because I was just so focused on getting it done and gritting it out and making things happen and making things great. And I suddenly realized pretty quickly, actually, though, that it's about teaching the person first, and the rest will come. If you care about the people and meet them where they are, it's going to make the product much better and much more meaningful in the long run. So that's great to hear. Last, I guess, drum major of the 7 that we have here is our current head drum major, Miss Jolie Martin. Thank you, Jolie, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be surrounded by these legends.
Yeah, there are definitely some legends in the room. So, Jolie, you're currently in it. You're in the throes of it. You're in the trenches. How do you think things are going for you right now? And you it's our second year as a drum major, right, with us. And also, by the way, anybody knows anything about drum corps, Jolie's actually been a drum major for Blue Stars Drum and Bugle Corps the past couple of years. So we're proud of you for that. But how do you think things are going right now with your team?
Things are going incredibly. We're actually starting our first audition clinic for the upcoming season tonight, which I am super excited to get off the ground and get running. So it's just kind of a testament to all the work that we've put in during the off season and over the summer, and obviously in the fall right now. I'm really excited to get that off the ground. Yeah. That training thing that we do, it's people don't even realize they see that incredible show or group of people in the fall. That does not
not just happen. It takes months and months and months of training and cultivating a team and a student leadership team. And it's starting already with Drum Majors, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because we'll be doing auditions for that right before the band banquet and announce at the band banquet, which of course is in late November. So things happen quickly around here for sure.
Absolutely.
How's your team though? How are Mari and Cadence? How's your team?
Incredible. Yeah, Mari and Cadence are awesome. And of course, we also have kind of the addition of Amelia once more, who is one of our current staff coordinators. But Mari and Cadence is their first year on the team. And they've absolutely really clung on to this position and made it their own. I'm super, super proud of all the work that they've done so far. In the off season, obviously we meet up a lot together, but then also with you, and they were just so willing to really get their hands on this position and, make it their own, which is really inspiring to be around.
I completely agree with that. And tell the people that don't know, tell them about your major. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And why do you do this crazy job? Because you're not a music major.
Yes, I'm not a music major. However, most of everything that I do as a drum major is directly transferable to what I do in tech theater. I'm also a communications major on top of that, but primarily tech theater with a concentration in stage management, which is basically the drum major of theater. So everything that I do here is directly transferable to that, my interpersonal communication skills with people, but also my personal leadership style, being able to put out mini crisis and deal with all these different types of people in a collaborative space, but also still put on a performance at the end of the day. For other people to enjoy. There's so many elements that go into that in the same way that the marching arts operates, which is super electric to be involved in, and it's very addictive.
It is very addictive. Is Jolie not incredibly impressive? All you old heads. She's not just amazing. So tell us a little bit. You've been a drum major at the high school level at the drum corps, and then here. They're three very different experiences, right? And how would you say that Pride of the Mountains is different, and how is it special?
Yeah, well, one of my biggest things for my personal leadership style is adaptability. And I think that's true the most here in this community, in the Pride of the Mountains, because of how many moving elements there are, how many people there are. We've always been a very large organization, but also the level that we're doing everything at. It's not the same as every other college marching band anywhere, which we pride ourselves in. And I think that's, obviously the biggest motivator for me is pride, but also just wanting to get better. So, I've learned a lot through working with so many different types of people, but here especially, I've learned, how to kind of take things seriously, but also know that it's okay to have fun at the same time, which is what it's all about at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, and we all thank you certainly and your team for continuing this lineage.
Of course,
you are the next generation. And you're actually inspiring the next generation as we speak. So super proud of you, Jolie. To kind of wrap this up, this has been an incredible conversation. I just was curious if we could go around the room, just a final thought about maybe what being a part of this Long Purple Line and the lineage of this band kind of means to you, and any thoughts you have for our current generation. So Cecil, I was just curious, what are your thoughts about that?
Take advantage of your time in the leadership positions that are offered to you. Remember that this time is short. It will pass by quickly. And that you have to change as the times change. The one thing I try to remind the people I work with and those who are fortunate to keep teaching the next generation, the people in front of you generally will stay about the same age. You're the person that's getting older in the room. And so you have to be attuned to what their needs are and listen. Part of leadership is not always about giving orders, but listening to the needs of the people in front of you. And if you can meet them, like you said, where they are to where you want to be and willing to work with them, things are going to be all right. The time will pass by quickly.
I got you on that one. I understand that one. Well, bless Bobby's heart. I think he's rushing around in cars trying to get from class to class and school to school. So I really appreciate all that he did. I think he must have had to run to class. That's totally okay. Thank you, Bobby. But Carrie, what are your thoughts about the lineage of this whole thing?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts because I'm pretty active in the Long Purple Line Club. But thinking in particular about drum majors and the teams that will continue in the future, I think it's really important that you lean in and trust your teammates and don't be afraid to be authentic and be vulnerable and show one another who you really are and speak your truth to each other. And I say that because my teammates that I was drum major with, I still talk to at least one of them every day, not all three. It just depends on the day. And there is nothing that can replace authentic connection and authentic friendships and really having those people that you can trust to talk through things that bother you when you're in your 40s and also dream for one another, all kinds of wonderful things that can happen in your future too. So keep on leaning into those friendships, keep on trusting one another, and just keep on being authentically yourself and not be afraid to share those parts.
Oh, that's beautiful. I totally agree with that. Victoria, what are your thoughts?
Well, to kind of piggyback off of what you just said, yeah, there is something unique about our role as a drum major. I think everyone can attest to it's a lot of long hours. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And unless you've been in it and gone through that audition process, and no one can really understand what that feels like, both the highs and the lows of it. So, yeah, definitely agree to keep up those connections with your fellow team members because they are the people that really can sympathize and understand. And yeah, I had Joel, Avery, Brandon. They were all in my wedding. They were my bride. I had bridesmen.
Bridesmen, I love it.
Yeah. But I think the other thing with just Pride of the Mountains in general is this sense of community. I feel like as we get older, it's really hard to find that again, and never you can find it at that level because you have kids, just life commitments, work. So having these connections that you've grown through this program where you're getting intimate and real with people and working towards a common goal, it's hard to find that again. So yeah, I'm very thankful for my time. I'm thankful that you trusted me to get up on the podium and be one of your leaders. And yeah, I'm just really thankful. And I agree with Cecil. This time is way too short. It really, really is. It's insane. It sounds like a long time. Like when I say 2011 to 2015, I was telling Matt, like, oh, this is a long time. But it really does. Like you blink your eyes and it's over. But it's some of my fondest memories. And again, found my husband, found some of my best friends. Some of my favorite memories are through POTM and being a drum major.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you being one of the older people in the room. I think that your life tends to get a little smaller, and right now it's just such an expansive and beautiful time of growth and learning about other people and making those kind of level of connections are very difficult to find in later in life. So that's awesome. Holly, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I loved every minute of being in band. It's one of my favorite fun facts when it comes out in conversation, like in my work now, when I get to mention that, I was in band, I was drum major. No, I didn't play the drums. I stood up and conducted in band. And then every now and then you get someone that's also been in marching band before, or like one of the builders I work with, his wife was in marching band, so he understands that. And he's like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And there's a connection that can form that's very different from what you normally would have. And just advice, I would just say to savor every minute of it, be very present because like other people have said today, it goes by so fast. It's gone in the blink of an eye and it's over. And then you move on and then it's just memories of what you've done before. But yeah, kind of actively thinking that I need to be present in this moment. I need to really live it while I'm here because one day it's going to be gone and I'm going to be just a boring little office worker without band.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And Mackenzie, you're fresh out of here. So what are your thoughts about the lineage and the part that you played in it?
Absolutely, yeah. So one thing I think about is just the line of drum majors who I'm now a part of and who came before me. I've always looked up to the drum majors all my life. I've been going to games since I was too young to remember. But last year we did a project on kind of getting together all of the drum majors in Podham history. And we still have some blanks to fill in. So if anybody wants to reach out and help us add those in, that'd be great.
Yes.
But I remember in particular that Jolie was very instrumental in putting together a Women's History Month collage of female women identifying drum majors in Podham's history. And we got to talk to those people and meet them at the games. And I'm still in contact with some of them. And it's just really incredible to be a part of this long line of incredible people who are doing wonderful things. So it's been really great to see.
The long purple line thing is it's very real. It is very, very real, and you think you realize it even more when you get out of here, and you start realizing how far that actually goes. It's pretty amazing. So Jolie, here you are, currently doing the thing. What are your parting thoughts here to these people about the past and the lineage that you now have?
Well, what Mackenzie said just perfectly transitions into what I wanted to talk about, which is just the how essential mentorship is, but especially just knowing your history and having that outreach, and having those different resources available to you. Yes, like Mackenzie mentioned, I was super big and adamant on doing a highlight for Women's History Month when I first joined the team in 2024. And, even these people that I'm sitting here with right now, I got to hear from, and now I'm sitting in a room with them on a podcast episode talking about the drum major role. And that's so full circle for me and really, really important. But, having mentorship, especially as a woman in this role, is it's super empowering to just hear from other people how to do the thing and how to do it well, but also understanding that we're all going through the same struggles at the same time. And, even though you guys have already done the thing, you guys obviously really resonate with what I'm doing right now. And it's really nice to know that I always have people to lean on and people to connect with just through such a niche, role. So.
You said one of my favorite phrases, know your history.
Know your history.
Know your history. Dude, yeah. It's so impressive having so many awesome drum majors here today. So much of the Long Purple line. It's so inspiring. But I also want to give a shout out to all the drum majors who have been through Pride of the Mountains that we probably couldn't fit on Zoom, but are still just as important. Thank you all so much for your dedicated time, effort, and professionalism to this band, because there are just so many drum majors out there, and we want to thank all of them, not just the people that are here today. In fact, one really cool fact that I want to spat out there, because you know me and our history.
Yes.
Drum major is the only student leadership position that connects us to the first band in 1941 that is still in the band today. In the 40s and 50s and 60s, probably up to the early 70s, we had a band president, which was a student position. But other than that, drum major was the only other one. And, we still have that today. So we also ran the numbers, and since 1941, we've had roughly, I say roughly because it's just a little over 100 drum majors come through this organization since we started. And I say roughly because we're still missing some names from 60s and 70s, so if anyone wants to help us out with that, Archives is also working on that. But Matt, you got anything else to say?
Yeah. I mean, we're constantly working on making our history important. And I guess the final thing, if you didn't see it online already, one of the things we are doing is we are recreating the very first drum major uniform. That's actually going to be making an appearance in the show itself. We're hoping to debut that fairly soon. But even more importantly than that, if you don't know the history of the band, it was actually started by a student. The very first music student in Western Carolina history was a guy named Joe Hedden, who myself and John Henson and Bob Buckner got to go actually interview many, many years ago. That, by the way, that's on YouTube if you want to check that out. But amazing guy, and started this thing and just went around the South learning how to do it, learning from band directors, literally learned how to twirl baton so he could come back and tell Miss Reed, as in Reed Jim, about why she should start a baton class, and just incredible. And to think that was just an undergraduate student making this happen, just amazing. So therefore, with this show being about connecting our past, we are going to be dedicating the show this year to Joe Hedden, and luckily I was able to get in touch with his two sons, and they are going to be bringing their families up on October the 11th, and we're going to do a presentation to them at pregame. So make sure that be there for that. It's going to be very special. But I think it's just incredible to look back and realize that it's not just cliche. We do stand on the shoulders of giants, and some of which are in the room right now. It took hard work to get to a certain level for other people and students to say, yes, I want to be a part of that, and then them come here, and then it's their job to continuing it on. So thank you so much to all the drum majors that took the time to be with us today. Thank you so much to all of you. It's just an incredible thing. And a big thank you to Rain. Rain, you just, all of the work that you're doing behind the scenes. And this right here would not be happening. The podcast would not be happening without your work. So thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me do my crazy ideas, Matt.
No problem. It's easy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Showtime Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. A special thank you to our main man, Sam Wallace, and everyone who supports the Pride of the Mountains Marching Band. Shout out to our friends on the Western Wednesdays podcast. Be sure to check them out to stay connected with the WCU Alumni Office.
Absolutely. And Long Purple Line, can't wait to see you cheering in the stands, and current students can't wait to cheer you on as you do the thing out there. So it's going to be a fantastic year. Make sure you come check us out. And as, of course,
Go Cats!